So I've had some questions about when we're called out to a job, what is it that the homeowner saw and why did they call us? Why did they feel that need to call us? And then when we get here, what do we do to confirm that there is a leak? How far do we go? How extensive is our investigation process? So let me show you what some of that is right now. So I had to hide the client's personal information, but here's our initial takeoff sheet. In fact, we call it our preliminary determination. What this tells us is I come out here and I fill out the information about where it was originally, and then I decide the category and the class of the flood. And then we have different areas that we're specifically testing, and then I say what was affected, and I keep notes on what the process that I'm going through and what I'm doing. We always like to leave a MSDS sheet of the chemicals that we use, and then of course we leave a card so people can get a hold of us. So in this particular house, the client had a question because the house is vacant, and when they came in to look at it, they found some water in the carpet. And I'm not going to show you the room because it's pretty noisy in there, but the room next door to it looks just like. And the client came in and they found some water in the corner of the carpet. So they walked over here, and as they stepped in the carpet, they found that water coming up around their shoe from underneath, and they went, oh, that's not good. And that's why they originally called us. Now, they didn't know where the water was coming from or what had happened, and that's our job. We come in to find out where the leak is coming from and how far it's gotten. If you watch my previous video, you'll see the process that we go through when we get here. We cover the floors all the way through the very end when we set equipment. But what I didn't show in that last video is some of the equipment that we set. So it's going to be a little bit loud, but I'm going to show you what we cut out of the walls, what we took out in the end, and how we eradicated the mold and the mildew that was in here. We treated it with chemical, and then we put specialized equipment on it to dry it out and get everything back to how it should be. So the equipment that we put on, we use air movers. I'm going to close this door because it is loud out there. We use air movers or fans, and then we use a HEPA scrubber that cleans the air, and then we use a dehumidifier that pulls all of the moisture out of the air and puts it down the drain. So I'm going to show you that equipment right now, and I'm also going to show you how we detect where the flood water is, or where there's mold or mildew, or where there's moisture inside of the walls. I'm going to show you how we detect that. We use specialized equipment like digital hygrometers and moisture meters and infrared cameras to detect where the water's at. So let me show you some of that right now. So this is the equipment in use. These are air movers that are just fans that move the air around. Now they move the air in a specific direction. So they come from here, and this guy's pushing the air into that wall, into that cavity, and this coming over here, and then this takes the air and pushes it along the base here, and this takes the air and pushes it along the base there. And the goal is that it creates a swirling effect in the room. And then this is what I was telling you about. It's a HEPA 550. Inside of there is a filter, a pre-filter, another filter, and then a HEPA filter. And what it does is it pulls air into the filter and kicks it out right here. So that's constantly scrubbing the air to get rid of any mold or any airborne, anything that we kick up out of the walls. That's cleaning the air before it goes back down. We talked about some of our detection equipment. I'll show you some of that right now. This detection equipment, specifically this one, it's by Exectech, and it is it's a moisture meter, and it helps us find the humidity within the walls. It works pretty simply. Let me show you. You've probably seen me use it before, but I'm going to go to a mode. We'll zero it out here. On the back side, this little pad right here detects moisture. So when I touch it with my fingers, for example, you can see it says I've got a lot of moisture in me. If I let go, it goes back down to 0. So we touch that on the wall, and it'll tell us generally a house has about 5 to 8% humidity in the walls on the surfaces. If you just took a shower, or if you're cooking dinner and you're boiling a pot of water, that number can be much higher. But that number always is higher when there's moisture on the surface of the area that we're testing. So we can test all around the house. Here we got 5.8. Let me show you one of the affected areas where we're bringing that moisture content down. This is where the original leak happened, so watch that. See, we're up to 17, 18%. How about down here where we know the moisture's stuck for a while? On there, I'm still up to 70%. So Using the moisture detection equipment, we can detect where the moisture is simply by placing this. This has another feature where we can actually plug some probes into it, and then we can probe into the material and detect moisture within the material that way as well. And then this room has the dehumidifier in it. Let me show you that. The dehumidifier is this box here. We use a Phoenix 200 Max, and what it does is it pulls air in through this grate. There's a filter right here, a pre-filter, and then there's another filter later, but it pulls the air in, and then it pulls all of the moisture out of the air, and then kicks the air back out of this fan right here. There's a fan that comes out of there. And then all the moisture that it kicks out, it comes out this side, that tube, follows that around, and we put it down a drain. In a house like this, it'll take out, there's a good fan right there. In a house with a lot of moisture in it, like this one was and this one is, that dehumidifier will take a lot of moisture out of the air, and not a lot of moisture like a mist or like a cup of water. It takes gallons of water out of the air all day long. So it just sits there and pumps. It'll turn on, it'll turn off, it'll regulate itself, and it'll kick water down that drain tube into the drain. Now, sometimes we put a bucket there and we just fill the bucket up. If it's a small job, we don't think there's gonna be a lot of moisture. The problem with using a bucket is that it's gonna overflow. So we'll stick a 5-gallon bucket down, and believe it or not, we have to change that, depending on the job, we'll have to change that 5-gallon bucket 3 or 4 times a day as that thing is cranking and pulling moisture and humidity out of the air. So that's the equipment that we use, and that's getting it dried out. We're just on day 2, so we're drying really well. We used to be at like 90%. Now we're down to, on that one spot, we found 70%, but we're down on the walls, down to about 17, 18% at the local point of where the moisture first came in. And the rest of the walls we're monitoring are way down to like 12%. So everything's working, it's doing just like it should, and another day or so with the equipment on it, and this house is gonna be dry.